All right. Hi. So welcome to this Swim with Annie podcast. I use the term loosely because I can't decide if it's a video or just audio, or, I have a vision of Travis and Jason Kelsey in their New Heights podcast. I think we're that cool, or I'm that cool, and we'll see. But Swim with Annie is going in a new direction. And today I would like to welcome guest and close personal friend, Laura Matuszak, who has been an aquatics professional for 30 years and has personally been involved in aquatics for over 40. And so thanks for coming to join me on this little jaunt today, Laura.
Thank you, Annie. It's great to be here.
So I think I would like to say that, first of all, this kind of growth, this place of growth that I'm in, about trying to figure out what Swim with Annie is now and how it's not Swim with Annie. I after standing so many hours, as you know, in water I don't even think, to be honest, that Michael Phelps has stood in water as much, because, I don't know that workouts would ever beat a straight 11-hour day. You know what I mean? I think they get out to eat and what have you, where I would save it and get the Flino's pizza at the end of the day. So I guess what I was thinking about today was, a parent recently asked me, Laura, how they know how to kind of decide the trajectory of the swim meets that they choose for their child in a way that would make them not need to go to every single meet opportunity there is, but what the tiers are for what would net them the largest gain, not as to win the medals, but to get the broadest scope of going to for me, the big thing was YMCA Nationals. And so I was fortunate enough to go to YMCA Nationals quite a number of years, and the sense of community and joy and camaraderie felt at those higher level meets, and to meet so many people from around the country, I think was really impactful. And then secondarily, and probably more importantly for me personally, was something called Empire State Games. You know about Empire State Games?
Yep.
So yeah. Empire State Games, did you ever go? No, because you didn't live.
That's correct. Yeah.
Empire State Games felt like what the Olympics surely feels like. Like, you got the sweatshirt and the sweatpants, and we marched out, I'm crying, we marched out during the ceremony, and there were so many sports involved, and we met people from all over New York State. I'm still friends with them to this day. Different sports, you stayed in the dorms at where was it hosted? Well, anyway, and it was just an extraordinary experience. And again, it was never really about how fast did you go, did you win? Of course you had to be fast enough to get there, and you had to place in the top two, and you could be an alternate, I think you were third. So it is a situation where you had to be fast to get there. Sure. But when you got there, to me, the impact for me was always about this sense of community and this meeting new people. So if you could help someone with the understanding for a parent to know which meets, what would your advice be to say, let's say, just say someone in Vermont and Chittenden County, to get, what's the trajectory to maybe Olympic trials or nationals, or what is that?
Right. So I think first and foremost, I would always recommend, have a conversation with your coach, right? You should have that relationship with your coach where you can sit down and make a plan and take a look at what the end goals are for your athlete and what your parenting philosophy is, and focus of the sport in your family. How does that sport feature in your family, and what lessons do you want your athlete to gain from that experience? So I would start there for sure, is making sure you have that conversation and you have that safe relationship with a trusted coach to find a path that's going to allow for your athlete to gain those enriching experiences through competitive sport. The beauty of USA Swimming is that there are all of these opportunities along the way to have amazing, enriching experiences with athletes from all over New England, or all over the Northeast, or from the eastern half of the country for us, or nationally. So once you have an idea of, well, where do you want to go, And I would say that's kind of where you start. So start with, where do you want to go based on where you are right now? Do you want to compete? Is the interest for the athlete to compete at the highest level meet that they're capable of for that season? Or are they more interested in just hanging and being with their friends, being at something local, being at something where they can sleep at their own house? What is the experience that the athlete is looking to have? In general, in my role as a coach, I would almost always recommend to kids and families that they pick the meet that is the most challenging for them to attend that season, realistically challenging, something for which they have the cut times for, something for which they're very close to the cut times for, and then build the season off of that. So starting with that end goal point of something that's exciting and energizing and inspiring, trying to work toward your best level of performance at that meet. And it's just such a magical way to spend a season or spend a period of time, is focused on this big fun goal at the end of the season. So that's where I'd start.
It's funny. I had dinner with Kale last night, my son, and I was talking about, we were having a kind of a conversation about what it means to be a professional and in your career and have a life that supports that, to be an artist, to be a creative, to be a hardworking person, and where your goals are and where your ambitions are and what that means in your personal life and how public does that get, and how we were on all that. And I was talking about how I would swim a 1650, and I was explaining that, there was one time where I had kind of sailed through the first half of the 1650, which is the 66th length of the pool in a 25-yard pool race. And as I was flipping into the 33rd wall, my head got kind of hot, my goggles were a little tight. And as I flipped, I pulled my cap and goggles off, flung them, landed my feet on the wall, and negative split the 1650 and passed like 4 people, yeah. And so that became like kind of a game for me about how to do it. And so his question to me was, oh, so then maybe you didn't need the race. It was maybe for you more that hard work or whatever. And then we went back and forth about that. And he was like, oh, I hear what you're saying. You're saying that there's a texture to competition, an element of like sand, like the texture. He meant it for real. There's a texture to competition, right? Where I said, there's no way I could have gone 18:33 or whatever. I don't even remember what my fastest 16:15 time was, but there's no way that I would have excelled at that level inside of myself, and even excelled isn't the right word. Like, the drive to go like that had a lot to do with the things happening around me and the heightened sense of, right. And so while I don't really love meets, it's very stressful if somebody's putting too much pressure on me. This other thing, this thing you're talking about the challenge, the self-challenge of a meet that's faster than you would normally go to, that throws you into this other game, and then toying with that and playing with that, and then learning all that brings, right? Because doesn't life also hand us these lessons? Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win, sometimes you do your best time, sometimes you don't know why, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yeah,
it's so rich. I love that.
I went too far.
No, it's beautiful.
But
I love it.
I think what I'd like to do, I know that we have a hard stop now, and what I'd like to do is just touch upon this idea you have, if I understand correctly, that a parent needs to kind of consider what they might want, the coach is considering what they might want for the swimmer, and then you have to both consider what the swimmer might want, and then kind of hone that down. Do you want to, see more parts of New England? Do you want to see more parts of the country? Find the meets that are further away that don't have cutoff times. Do you want to find meets that do have cutoff times and challenge yourself as an athlete? Do you just want to be with your friends? What do we want to be at home? Right. And there is space in competitive swimming for all of that, and the conversations with the coach.
Absolutely. And that's another beautiful thing about our sport, the size of the sport, the high level of organization, the high quality of the volunteers, that there are opportunities at all sorts of different levels to participate based on what really drives the athlete. And I think that it's really critical in youth swimming that you have that relationships, that because a parent is going to know their athlete much more. As much as we as coaches like to believe we know the athletes, and we do, we get to see a certain side, but I may not be as attuned or as aware, especially early in the relationship, of what really challenges that athlete, or how do they come alive, or get, find that spark competitively, right? Because that's a whole different layer of stress that a parent maybe has had more experience with. And so again, a good, a quality coach who's able to navigate those relationships and, assess, guide those answers from the parents and from the athlete, is going to, be able to create a space for the athlete to really thrive each season as they work toward a goal.
Yeah. And I hear you talk about it so fully. And I know personally that when you say thrive, you mean that on an emotional level, on an athletic level, and that's one package. Like, you're not saying thrive as in get your best time. That's just a piece of the humor and the joy and the drama of what element swimming brings to what life is.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Great.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
No, good. It's just an awesome sport. So
yeah. So I think what I'd like to do is we'll end on this note now, but clearly this conversation has more, and I'll wait and see what the feedback is from people who see this, and then we'll do it again.
Yeah. Perfect. I love it. Little bite sizes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming and joining me today. Thank you for all you've ever given me and all you do. And I'm so grateful for you.
I am so grateful for you, Annie. Thank you.